mom back. It's
Wow.
yeah, it's beautiful. I was losing her, so for whatever reason, whether it was because of three of these or not, I'm getting my mom back.
God bless you,
I'm
Julia.
so grateful.
Wow. And you're crediting it to this, or there's a big part of that? You really
It
are?
started happening when this started happening.
Wow.
Hi. Well, Chanti, internet problems, but I am so happy that touch wood at the moment, we're putting loads of sage and protection around us.
Absolutely.
I'm so delighted to be here for a live today with Chanti. Now, everyone knows Chanti from Aquarius Rising Africa 2 and Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. And we're going to have a really important discussion today and chat and hopefully get some interaction from the viewers as well on how developing our spiritual connection can really help us overcome fear. And Brenda's also said, quite agree with you, Brenda, anger as well. But before we delve into that, how are you doing and how are things where you are?
I'm really, really doing well. I think, through all of this crises and stuff we've been living through, I really think that for me, I don't know, I'm doing well. I think I've kind of disconnected from a lot of the drama that's going on in the world. And I'm just kind of living my life, honestly, Catherine, as if it's not even happening. So I'm doing well.
I think that's going to be a really important tip to talk about today, because obviously we get a lot of interaction. And thank you so much for anyone that's joining us today. And thank you so much to my lovely friend and colleague, Andrea, who is in the chat as a moderator and will be helping to point out any questions that I miss. So don't be shy in asking your questions. But I think anyone that watches, hi, Andrea, your channel, my channel, is very much caught in this process, probably a bit of a sort of up and down roller coaster, perhaps, Chanti, where we've spoken so much over the last 2-3 years. I mean, we started off saying a year, then 2 years, and now we're moving into 3 years, about asking people to take power for themselves and educate themselves and do their own research and everything. But of course, then therein comes an issue where you might be drawing in energies into your field that aren't always serving you. So how are you balancing that?
Absolutely. And it's so, you make such a valid point, because, it's very true that when people start engaging in and going down these rabbit holes, it's very easy to get sucked in. And as we know by now, everything in
Oh, no, I'm afraid we're going to have to deal with
energy. Okay, you get.
Sorry, you froze a bit then. You froze then, Chanti. Everything is energy, you were saying.
Yeah. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what's going on with my internet yet today, but let's just hope that it sees me through. Yeah, so, we had the positive energy and the negative energy. Obviously, the positive energy is what creates, and that's the creative process. And the negative energy is it's the inertia thereof. So it's the sucking in, or the negative process, So if we really just understand that is half our battle won. For me, thank God, I've understood these principles and how this works, and I certainly don't say I've got it all waxed. I'm learning every day, really I am. But I think I understand the principles. And the principle is really, when I'm connected, I have this beautiful saying that says, when the roots grow deep, there's no need to fear the wind. And if we really allow ourselves to think about what that means, it really says, when you are rooted, when you are connected, when you have a solid foundation, the storm can blow your hair a bit and your leaves off and what have you, but you'll prosper again because your roots are stable. And it's really understanding that which has to go must go, and that which stays shall stay. So that's really the principle by which I try to live my life, Catherine. And, especially the more crazy things are, the more I pray, the more I meditate, and the more I just stay in my own dang lane. And I do what I know works for me, my friends, students, clients, all of that. We're on this journey together. All of us have had crazy things go down these past 2 years. It's been amazing to see the growth that I've seen in so many people, though, which is beautiful.
I love that, and I am 100% on the same page as you, because everything seems to come back to these few simple principles. And talking today about we wanted to talk about building your spiritual connection, whatever words work for you. And one of my lovely friends, Danielle, who I've done quite a few shows with, she put a lovely video up and she explained it in such a good way. It's something I've heard before, but she explains things so beautifully simply, is that we all carry our energy with us wherever we go. So whether we're physically there, whether we're putting our energy into writing, into words, into thoughts, I think everyone who's watching this understands that we are interacting with that quantum field, the divine matrix, whatever you want to call it. And so if we want to really influence the world we're living at and be creators of our own reality, take our sovereignty back, then finding ways to be at peace ourselves, regardless of what else is going on around you, is absolutely key. And I found it really fascinating. I've learned so much, and I'm learning so much for all the listeners as well, and people that do interact. But everyone's going to have tools that work for themselves. So we all know that 2 people or 1,000 people can all listen to the same information or read the same book or watch the same movie and can come out with completely different interpretations of what they've heard, and it will affect them all on an emotional level very differently. And the difference is not the information that's gone in, it's us as the processor of that information. And
Absolutely.
So one of the things I've been talking about on my recent podcast series on optimizing health and happiness is this ability to really self-assess yourself and see where you're at and what is affecting you and what works for you. Can you talk through some of that and how important that is for you, Chanti?
Oh, absolutely. I always say to people that I work with, really, no matter what happens in life, no matter where you're at, and you're trying to do some reflection or stuff like that, it all comes back to me. It all comes back to me, because I am the common denominator in my own life. If I've had 6 boyfriends or husbands or whatever, and they've all cheated on me or betrayed me in some way, the underlying issue there would be, let's say, betrayal or deception. So then I would say, well, if you're experiencing a lot of betrayal, deception, let's use that as an example. The question I then is, where have you... So where have you betrayed you into believing that this is the best that life has to offer you, and that this is the way that things have to be? You see, we lie to ourselves all the time, and that's the truth of the matter. Is we limit ourselves, we argue for our own self-limitation most of the time. As a healer, and over the past 20 years, I can't begin to tell you how protective and defensive people are over their illnesses. And I say that with love. The minute you try and say, well, there's a different cause, or let's look at something different, if someone's not ready, oh boy, you or they can lash out and tell me I'm this and I'm that, and how dare I, whatever, and I'm okay, no problem. My point is that if there's something that's limiting you in your life, whether it's an illness, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a belief system, whether it's a friendship, whatever it might be, a job maybe, what have you, ask yourself where you are limiting you. Because when we are in that place of self-limitation, of course, we know the energy we put out there permeates into the atmosphere, and energy is always going to attract its same vibration, right? The law of correspondence or the law of attraction. So you are going to be attracting situations, people, relationships, experiences, whatever, that match you. And that is the bitter pill that most people don't want to acknowledge. But when we do, it's such a liberating thing. So it really is then saying, okay, I realize I'm in a stuck place, or I'm repeating things, or everything just seems to be Groundhog Day. When we get to the point of actually being able to say, okay, I realize the blockage is within me. That's the first step to take in responsibility. And this is all about taking responsibility. And then you ask the question, okay, how can I dissolve that? What do I need to do? And then you set the things in motion that you have control over, and then allow God to do the rest, or source or divine creator, and allow the rest just to fall into place. Because honestly, that will happen. When we start just taking that control, realizing I am the creator of my own destiny. We are highly intelligent, creative beings. Every moment of every day we're creating. Whether we're creating things we don't like, we have to acknowledge we're creating them anyway. Not just one of us, but two of us, actually, or 10 of us, whatever it might be. So if I don't like what I'm creating, then let me sit with myself and let me sit at the feet of my own life. Let me sit at the feet of God, or whatever your belief system is, and be humble and just go within. And then the answers come to you in the most beautiful ways. Then you start doing things like journaling. You get up in the morning, that first hour belongs to you and only you. No one, unless I've got an urgent airport trip or something, but no one takes that. In fact, I have 2 hours where I get up and it's just me and I just do my stuff. And if I didn't do that, I don't know what I'd be like during the day, to be perfectly honest. That's refueling yourself. You have to refuel yourself. It's like drawing money out of an ATM. If you are not putting in, it's like how can there constantly be withdrawals, especially if you've got a career, people working for you, children, whatever it might be, that literally draw our energy. We know that happens, but it's up to you to fill it. So that really, at the end of the day, for me, is what truly works. Is no matter how mad I can get at someone else for something they might have done, or in my opinion, think they might have done, always come back. Chantelle, ask yourself about this.
Yeah, sorry, we lost you a bit then.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely true. And I think, thank you for your comments and your interaction. I'm going to come to those in a minute. I think it's so true. And one of the things I always ask myself, although I must say I haven't trained my cats as well as you, that the first hour of the morning is theirs in our house. I have to laugh about that, and then I get my time. Actually, I love it, because that first interaction for me in the morning is all my animals, and it just sets me up so beautifully for the day. And then I go and do my things that work for me. But I think it's so important to be really learning, and we're going to come on and talk to this about really learning to tune into yourself, because everything's always giving us feedback. So last week I took quite a bit of time off work because I forced to, because I didn't listen to all the early warning signs and I got really ill. But I know that, and I know that that was my body saying, come on, if you're not going to listen, then we're going to make you listen. And so I giggle about it, because I was like, yeah, okay, I did leave it a bit late this time. Thank you for the message. But constantly asking ourselves what serves me. So I've had so many questions over the last sort of really 6 months. I get loads of thank you for everyone who does write in, who does send your comments in and everything, and questions. We both really appreciate it. Because it lets us know how everyone's feeling and what the mood is in there and what's important for people. And one of the biggest things I get is, what about, we're looking at the challenges we've got here. Chanti's had load shedding for years where you are. Some of us are only just starting to The internet issues, things we take for granted. But I'm always asking the question all the time, how am I feeling? How is that making me feel about this? Because the more in tune you get to listen to yourself, is it giving you a warm feeling here, or is it giving you an unearned feeling here? Look, I love my Be Happy shirt.
So cute. It's gorgeous.
But it's really important, because we'll all pick up those signals in different ways. So know thyself is so important in this, because when you know the warning signals for yourself, then you can take action. And we'll come on to some of the things a bit more detail about sort of some of the actions that we can take. But this whole journey, we talk about sovereignty and everything, is really, really important. And as Maggie's saying here, seeing our faults as a positive, not a negative, be gentle. I see them now, I've relabeled it. I don't see them as faults. I just see them as messages, as just different messages. And we all know some of the messages. It's like looking at comments on social media. It's very easy to take on board the good ones. What about the not so good ones? How do you deal with that? What does that trigger in you? Are you able to let it go and realize it's someone else, not you, etc.? So it's really, really important that the more we know ourselves, then we can then delve into those tools and techniques that really help us stay grounded, stay centered. So regardless of how much research you're doing, regardless of how much you're going down the rabbit hole, can you take on that information and use it for a positive benefit? The moment you can feel it's tipping you into that fear vibration, then you just stop and recenter yourself. We've got a little question here, Chanti, from Maggie. What about the people in denial? They sense something is wrong but won't go into it.
You can't. One thing I learned as a healer very, very early on is that you cannot change another person. Now, if it's your opinion that someone's in denial, it might be their opinion that you're in denial. So we always have to look at the mirror, right? So if you're feeling like there's a conversation that you can't have with someone, maybe it could be an important person, a family member or something like that, that you really can't walk away from or whatever, then really, again, everything is a message and a mirror. So someone's in denial because of what's going on around here, and you trying to get your message out, and as many of us have been. But at the end of the day, you're so busy focusing on their denial. Where's your denial? Because you wouldn't be coming across that unless it was in you. So step back, question, in what areas of my life am I in denial? It might be something completely different to what you're experiencing the person with. You might be in denial about your relationship with your partner. You might be in denial about your relationship with your son, or your codependence on sugar. I don't know. It could be anything. But if you're seeing it in another, it exists in you. So the point is that let us stop, and this is what I say as well. Catherine, we've been on this platform for 2 years now, and boy, do we take some chalk from certain people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because when we understand who we are, what we're about, I can work with those that are willing to work with me.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about opening your mind and spiritual alchemy, and if it appeals to you, then all well and good. You're going to benefit like anything from this. But if you're saying it's nonsense and it's evil and I'm from the snake god, stuff like that, it's probably not going to work for you. So move on from those situations. That's what I say. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your breath. But always reflect. Everything in life is an opportunity for growth. It's not about the other people. It's about you. And when we individually start awakening and ping, ping, the little sparks go on, that's when the dark negativity around you and within you dissolves, because the light will always dissolve the dark. It's just the way that it is.
Absolutely. And, you know, we know when the light shines down on you, you see your shadow. And there's a reason why you see your shadow, and taking a look at that. And I think, you know, it's really so important, going back to what Maggie said above about, you know, sort of how are you framing it when you're observing this, not in a way to beat yourself up, just as a self-reflective. That's interesting. That's one of my favorite sayings to myself, is that's interesting. I'm noticing this. And also, we all know that we can react differently in different situations. So when I'm feeling physically very vital, when I'm on top of my thing, when I've been having my green juice, and I always say sorry Kermit, because it looks like I've blended Kermit the Frog. Sorry Kermit. But when we look after our mind, body, spirit, when we look at these pillars of health, you know, are we getting the right nutrition? Are we getting out in nature? Are we getting exercise? Are we, you know, getting enough sleep? Are we allowing some me time? And we'll come on to some of that in a minute. All of these things, when we feel ourselves being triggered very easily, reacting very emotionally, very quickly, etc. Like when I was ill last week, I noticed I was much more emotional about reacting to things. Well, of course you are, because physically your body hasn't got the resilience. So you react more emotionally to things. So all of these things are just learning points. Okay, which bit of my life is out of balance? Because if we're reacting in fear, and we're not meant to suppress fear. We're not meant to never feel fear. That's a really important survival mechanism. We'd be in real problems if we didn't. But it's when we've got the choice not to stay there, to recognize it's a choice, isn't it, Chanti?
Absolutely. And, you know, I think also, having said that, I think so many people have been conditioned to and just brought up to in the environment, if you will, that life is difficult. Yeah. Life is problems. There is no money. You know, the rich are thieves, or whatever it might be. So, you know, there's such a strong narrative that we collectively have been born into. And let us never forget that. So we are coming from often a family dynamic where we have this with our parents and their parents and their parents. So there's this conditioning that has gone throughout the bloodlines. But when we can recognize that, and I always say to people as well, even if you have an hereditary disease, dis-ease in your body, you know, even if there is that, you have the choice and the ability to change that. The first thing, Carmen, you know, is for people to realize there is another way. No matter how horrific things might be for you right now, no matter how you're standing looking straight into this dead corner, and no matter how much you may feel that way, I invite you to just ask the question, show me another way. And then wait. Because the minute we make the decision, you see, decision to decide that we can do it differently, that shifts your frequency. Just the decision and the hope that something can be different, no matter what it might be for you. Because when we get that energetically first, we can then start acting. So then we can then start acting and having a healthier diet, starting to change the way that I'm buying my groceries, starting to change the way I talk to my children, starting to exercise, for example, if I need to do that. But it starts with that inner decision. And that is such an important thing, the decision to change yet. And that's when we're looking at people in denial. If people in denial haven't decided yet they want to open their eyes and look at things differently, we're going to be very frustrated trying to show them everything and force our will upon them, because that's how it's going to seem, right? So just allow and trust that everyone is on their journey. When you start trusting yourself, you start respecting others' boundaries too, because you Trust yourself. You like your boundaries respected. You're intelligent enough to know what's happening in here. You figuring it out. You don't need anyone in your ear telling you every 5 seconds. So it's like, whoa, just hang on. She's got this. Leave her. Let her just chill. She's figuring it out, you know. It really is. But it starts with that decision. It really starts with a mental and emotional decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more than that. Sorry, I was getting so engrossed with what you were saying, Chanti. I forgot to scroll through the comments. Sorry, I'll catching up to them. Yeah, I think it is so important because it always comes back to us and what do we want to create? What do we want to take out of the situation? What do we want to how do we choose to react? We can't choose what people say to us necessarily, but we can choose how we react to it. And one of the things that I really like and that I'm really looking at is where people are really choosing to be their own health coach. They're choosing to be their own. Now, it doesn't mean you don't go and get professional advice from people when you need it in whatever shape or form that might need. But actually, when you take on the responsibility, no one else has got your back as much as you have. And if you're not taking that responsibility for yourself, no one else is going to do it for you. Now, we've got a question here from Kirsty. So what causes people to lack the ability to visualize in their heads anything? Just appears back and things come in thoughts.
Okay, so what causes people to lack ability to visualize? Okay, we obviously have our senses, right? We have the ability, especially when we're looking into the different dimensions. There are some people who are going to be more clairaudient, so you can hear more, you can actually hear sounds, voices, whatever in the other realms. You can be clairvoyant, so you can see, and you can be clairsentient, where you feel. Now, every person has what they're most comfortable with. And that's what I always say to people when they're doing my workshops and stuff, especially with animal communication and stuff like that. You might just feel it. You might just get a sense of it. And that's what you've got to trust. You might visualize it. And you might get a picture. You might get a smell of something. You might smell your grandmother or your partner or whatever. So you get that sense of smell as well. I can definitely, when I'm working, especially with animals with a certain illness, I get a horrible taste in the back of my mouth.
Yeah.
So I get And I learned after 2 or 3 animals that actually had cancer, that's what it meant. So every person, it's difficult to say what causes people to have certain things and others. It just is the way that we are. We're all born with different abilities. We all have the same abilities, I want to tell you. But it's like some people can run faster than others, while others might sprint. Others can do the long jump. Others can do the high jump. Others are better swimmers, whatever it might be. So it really is just tuning into what is good for you, what you're comfortable working with. And when you have that strength, you're going to see the other aspects, the other senses automatically start opening up as by themselves. You don't have to try and do anything. It just happens of itself.
Yeah. And I think, obviously some people are in teaching professions or parents are in areas where it's important for them to understand others' learning styles, etc.
Yes.
And other times not so much, in terms of recognizing when it's a distraction from taking the attention off yourself, because it's very easy to sort of say, well, they don't get it or they don't do that. But again, when we keep bringing everything back to ourselves, not in a me way, but in a, okay, how could I explain this differently? Am I walking my talk? I always make the joke, I'm not going to go to an aerobics class if the aerobics instructor is really fat and unhealthy, because you expect people to be walking their talk. So if you're, preaching about health and lifestyle and you don't look healthy and you're not living a healthy lifestyle, of course, people aren't going to take you seriously. So I think some of the times it's understanding how can we improve our own ways of communication, putting a message across, and are we being authentic? Are we actually demonstrating the messages that we're putting across? And I do agree, Emily, boundaries are so important, and knowing your boundaries is really, really important. So
Yeah.
in terms of actually people really, at the moment, as I said, I'm going to sort of come back a bit, if I may, to this balancing people doing their own research about what they think is going on in the world. And bear in mind, we haven't got any absolute truths here, in my opinion. There's a lot of things that, take the truther community, have one view of things, and then other people have got another view of things. And it's really fascinating when you hear, I was listening to something by Jordan Peterson that I shared on my community tab that I thought he expressed really, really well. And then I listened to a different interview with him when he was talking about the Queen of England and his views on the monarchy. And I was like, wow, you completely confused me. So can we talk a bit about this sort of taking in the information and this view that there's an absolute truth? Because we are seeing an awful lot of collective fear in the people that are following a lot of what they think the disclosure movement might be.
Absolutely. And let's never forget, when we just look at the way energy works as well, the more people who can be swept away by a wave of fear, the happier the controllers are, right?
Yeah.
So what I've discovered for myself in the past 2 years is there's a lot of divide and conquer. Okay, there's a lot of psyops going on, and there's a lot of dividing and conquering. So again, and that's where people very often are getting swept away. That's where we're fighting with our families. We know recently about this and all sorts of other things, the separation that occurred, all sorts of stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Catherine, what has become very, very clear to me is that when we are aligned with spirit, so when we are doing our meditation, our prayer, the spiritual connection, and then obviously along with that, you're doing your relationship stuff, you're working on your inner being, you're working on how to change your world, you're physically changing how you eat, how you do things, taking time for yourself. There's no option but for you to grow there. And that's the beautiful thing. And it's then that we create stability. No one is coming to save us. We've said this for a long time. No one is going to make the world a stable place and you're going to go, oh, okay, awesome, I'm back to the way I was. Okay, let me go back, type, and do whatever I'm doing. No, this is the time where we all have to take that responsibility individually and therefore collectively, because as we all individually take responsibility, reconnect, root, growing a forest really. Think about us all just planting ourselves of seeds and then all growing into this beautiful forest, because that's what is needed. So doesn't matter what your mom says or your dad says or your spouse says. We have to realize we're moving or have moved into the age of Aquarius, which is all about individuality. It's the 11th sign of the zodiac, which is the first of the master numbers. And when you're looking at the 11, it's 2 legs. You can imagine it's 2 legs. So you're standing up, you're stepping into your power, you're walking your talk. So you're learning to do things differently, you're learning a new way. So it's up to us to do that. And that's what the whole energy of Aquarius is all about. There's a whole lot of other things that go along with it as well, But in terms of the initial stages, that's what the time of Aquarius is requiring us to do. So in order for us not to get swept away by this dark wave of, let's not even mention it, it's to reconnect, reroute, connect with yourself, connect with your family, with your friends, plant, bake, cook, have fun, get that kind of feeling going again. And then we're growing a much, much more healthy society in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to answer a couple of questions. Thank you, Moonhug. What am I drinking? I always do this because it empowers me. I'm drinking my Roots Relief Greens and Natural Barrier Support, because what I like to do is make sure that I get all my vitamins and minerals at the moment in every day. So I'm doing that. Now, we've got a couple of interesting questions about why do we think you're here? And people are saying it's our last incarnation. Do you believe it to be true? Everyone's going to have a different opinion on that. Personally, Frakala, I don't believe that's true. I believe that we're all in completely our own unique situation, and it's going to be different for all of us. What do you feel about that, Chanti?
Pretty much the same as you, really, the whole thing is, what I'd like to say to our viewers about Earth as well. We're not going to fly off Earth and suddenly go and habitate on Mars or Venus or Jupiter or something. You see, Earth is the planet where it's really where we do our most growth and our most evolution. We don't physically change planets. We literally stay on Earth and we raise our frequency. So that's what Earth is about. So you're going to get people that are still fighting and warring and carrying on in the lower rungs, that are still sucked into those lower vibrations. But then you're going to get people who've moved also past that. So those experiences are going to be very different on the same planet to what someone else is experiencing. And this is what I really want to say. I do not for 1 second believe we're going to move to another planet. Yep. We are on Earth. We are here to evolve. Earth is the most exciting place to be. It's everything is available to us here. We can grow, we can create, we're master creators. God has given us so many tools and opportunities and possibilities. Why would I not want to come back here over and over and over again, and every time just have a better experience and just learn what Earth's about? That's my opinion. So no, I think
I'm with you. I'm not going anywhere. I haven't got, look at my dogs in the background and bunny rabbits and all the beautiful resources. I love Earth. It's really funny. Whenever I hear people talking about it being a prison planet, it's not my reality at all. Now, I know everyone, so I'm not dismissing that might be their reality. It's just not mine. And I absolutely adore this planet. I mean, every time I go out, I'm a bit like a Labrador, really. Whenever I go out for my walks each day with the dogs, when you go out for a dog and there's that unconditional joy of being in the moment, and they treat each walk as if it's their first time they've ever been for a walk. There's just such joy and everything, and using all their senses. That's what I feel like. So we've got some really good interaction and comments from people. I'd like to pick up on this one. The fear emotion can be completely removed, replaced during the hypnosis. Now, I know I'll just put my 2 pennies worth in. I know that sometimes when you're writing a comment, it's really hard because it's difficult to put a succinct one. I really don't want my fear emotion to be removed or replaced, but I do understand that at times when it's got out of balance and there's something that's not serving you, then that can be a really good tool to do that. But if we didn't have the fear emotion, then we wouldn't be around on the planet for very long because we'd be eaten.
I agree. So absolutely, there's that base fear, obviously on a physical level as well. But also, let's understand how energy works. Energy can never be created or destroyed, only ever transferred or transformed. So in order for your fear to be transmuted, in other words, in order for the lead, because fear equates the lead of spiritual alchemy, which is your pain, your sadness, your jealousy, your anger, whatever it is that holds you back, okay? We need understanding. So this is where the reflection comes in, is to understand that I'm limiting myself, why I'm limiting myself, and how to unlimit myself. So taking those actions automatically transmutes that energy and turns it back into creative life force, or the gold of spiritual alchemy. So the understanding that I needed that marriage because it gave me this. The understanding that I needed to be with that person because that's what I gained from that person. Then when I realized that, the anger goes. it just dissolves. Suddenly the truth sets us free, right? And then there is no anger or frustration or fear around that situation anymore. You've understood it. And the understanding is the alchemy. So when we've understood it, you don't need hypnosis. You can take certain things away, but I'll tell you, unless you are absolutely understanding and the alchemy occurs on a spiritual level, you're going to have to keep, it's like shaving your legs, right? You're going to have to keep shaving those legs or mowing your lawn.
And do you know what I love is I love how, as we go through this journey, connections are everywhere and everything links. So when you're talking about lead being the alchemy of fear, and of course we all know that fear emotionally can be held in the liver, and we know that there's a lot of pollution and poisoning done with lead and heavy metals and other things. This is where there's so many tools that are accessible to all of us. And, you know, whether you want to start on your physical body with nutrients, sorry, my dogs are getting a bit hot with the fire going in here. You know, this is where, as Louise Hay said, you know, when you want to spring clean your house, you know, you've got to get around all the rooms, but where you start will be individual to you. So if you've got guests coming, you might want to start with the living room sort of thing, or the kitchen. And this is what I feel about all these tools and our techniques. We've got people that are brilliant about cleansing and detoxing. We've got people that are really good for bringing your mind and body into harmony, heart-brain coherence. There's something for everyone with this. But each time you pick up on all the linkages and how everything is connected, then you can see so clearly how actually perhaps if you are going into the fear emotions very quickly, it might be a good idea to also have a look at removing some of the physical toxins from your body, which might help you shift it. So there's so many different ways you can approach for this, depending on what you actually feel you need at that time and what you're going through and what you need shifting at that time.
Absolutely.
So let's go into, we started talking about, thank you so much for the interaction. We've got a great crowd on.
Yeah, nice comments. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Some of the things we can't tell sort of what they are, so, but that's absolutely fantastic. And I think fear and pain can be such a great tool, Dragonfly.
Totally.
Agree with you. We've got a question here, which I think before we come on to sharing some of our solutions with people, which I think is really important, what you and I are all about. This is an interesting question about jumping from 3D to 5D. I've heard this is disinformation. So why are we skipping 4D, which is the fourth chakra, the heart? So how can we skip 4D? So there's so much to unpick in this comment. Thank you, Frau. What would you like to start with on this?
Well, for starters, I think let's just forget about jumping to 4D, 5D, 6D, 20D. Let's just figure out what we're doing in 3D. It's the same thing, you know, when we're looking at our body, there are 7 main chakras or doorways into the body energetically. And that would be the main 7. And now there are people that are telling us they're going to activate your 15th chakra and doing, I'm like, in all due respect, how do you expect to activate the 15th chakra when you haven't even learned how to operate the first one? So my point is, your chakras in your physical body are very, very important to understand. Because when we understand how that works, then we understand the emotions. It's like understanding your body in bite-sized chunks. Every chakra has emotions linked to it and body parts linked to it. So when you have certain illnesses in the body, you can see which chakra it's related to, and you can see how to heal it. You see, this is exactly why we start with our beautiful physical body. This is why I keep saying your body is the most precious, intelligent vehicle you could ever wish for, because we have 30 trillion cells in our body, plus minus. So we are, and it's like you are so, I'm trying to find the words here. You are so intelligent because your body is the manifestation of your spirit. It is your spirit in physical form. So I mean, every cell contains enough information to write 1,000 books of 600 pages each. That's how intelligent you are. That's your potential. So until you've looked within to see your potential, you are not going to be able to jump to 5D, 4D, 6D. 4D being the heart chakra, that's where you have to move to. Maybe that's what that's all about. So back into the heart, because as the Buddhists say, you know, the heart is your mind. You should lead with your heart, contrary to what Western teachers are telling us, right? So let us just get so comfortable in your body. Let's forget about 5D, 6D, 20D. Just enjoy your physical experience in this moment. It's called, as Eckhart Tolle has written in the book, the power of now. You see, there's no more powerful moment than right now. When you are feeling comfortable in this moment, when you are trusting you are divinely protected, divinely provided for, divinely guided, you are so adored by the divine that you don't have a moment to think a bad thought about someone else again. When you're in that moment, the next moment takes care of itself with the same energy. And so the next moment takes care of itself with the same energy. Then you don't have fear. You see, because fear is the thing that holds you back. So trust yourself. If your body needs healing, resolution, go on that journey. That's 5D stuff. Knowing you can heal yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that. I'm loving you, Susie Q. Thank you so much. You're so supportive. I love it when people support us and say like and share, because it does mean a lot. Because the trouble is, the way the algorithms work is that if people don't hit the like button or share it, people don't find it. It's like, you know, with any of the social media or YouTube, it doesn't appear on people's feeds. So I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And Chanti is straight on, Bianca, yes. And what I would say, and I think this was such a good question you asked, Farakala, I don't know how to pronounce your name, sorry, is there's a few things in there. One I would like to see is that you've heard its different information. And this is one of the reasons why Chanti and I were doing this talk today, because the thing is, we're all hearing stuff, and I get it. I completely get it. It's hard for you to discern what feels right to you and what feels right to me. But to me, honestly, and this is just my personal opinion, it doesn't matter 3D, 4D, 5D. They're just labels that people have put on the things, and it means something differently to everyone. And it's an opinion and it's a choice. And it's a bit like, you know, you don't say I'm healthy and then I'm healthy for the rest of my life. It's not, health isn't something that you achieve once and then keep like a certificate from school. Health is something that is a choice you make every minute of every day. And to me, that's how personally I view the 3D, 4D, 5D. It's something that I will be slipping up and down. And trust me, have I slipped into 3D quite a lot recently? I will put my hand up. I do it all the time. The funny thing is now is I can laugh about it because I can catch it and then I can transmute it, as we were talking about. So what I would say is be gentle on yourselves and realize that, yes, it is good sometimes when you need to listen to different perspectives. That's why Chanti and I have got our channels, because we love having conversations with people that challenge our perspective, that make us open up different new little ideas or see things in a different way. But equally, just to make sure that we actually are just then, what does it mean for me? What am I going to take from this, etc. So I think that's a really, really good point to look into, and sort of it's good to acknowledge when am I unsure? Okay, why am I unsure? What do I need this information in the first place? If I do need it and I think it's going to be constructive, let me see what I feel about it. And sometimes that means listening to different perspectives as well, to sort of say, okay, do I need to find out something more about this? I'm so pleased you went into the chakra system, because it's something I was going to speak to you about doing a series on, because personally, I find it absolutely invaluable as a holistic therapist in all the work I do, whether it's with animals or humans, when we understand this. So perhaps we'll talk off camera that, and perhaps people can let us know in the comments whether that's something you would like as a series, but also as perhaps those want a bit more depth, perhaps as some training on that as well.
Absolutely.
So let's go into, I can't believe where the time's going. Thank you so much for all your comments. let's go into some of your solutions for this. So when people recognize that they're, feeling fear, they're feeling anger, or they're being, surrounded by those emotions, what are some of your must-do tips that people can do?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is, depending on how serious it is, really just find someone to talk to. That's the first thing I want to say. Maybe a healer or a psychologist or a friend or someone that you trust. And just say, this is the situation I'm in. I'd like to move forward through it and I need some advice. The whole thing is surrender. Surrender. Just surrender. And surrender doesn't mean you're not going to get mowed over by a truck or whatever. It's just surrendering and stopping the fight against what is. What is right now I'm in dire straits. I might be in a bad relationship or whatever. It is what it is. So stop fighting it, surrender, speak to someone. Secondly, decide what you want to do. Guys, these words are so important. I can't tell you how important the word decision is. It's one thing that when people are doing my courses and my workshops, in my programs, decision is a big thing that we work with. So decide to make the change. Not for anyone else. If you're going to make it for your husband because he likes you slim and trim. If you're going to make it for your wife because she prefers you to look all beefy and brawny, whatever. That's the wrong decision. You make it for yourself because you have become so sick and tired of being sick and tired that this is where you say, okay, so far and no further. It's in that moment that the shift happens. Then decide how you want to make your changes. The first thing I recommend you do is you give yourself 1 hour in the morning that belongs to you and only you. And in that hour, the first thing you do is just to sit or even lie in your bed while you're still there, close your eyes and just breathe. Breathe. Because the morning time is where we really have beautiful thoughts. Those first few seconds are beautiful when we come out of sleep. And then bam, 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 bam. The whole of yesterday and last week and everything suddenly comes churning in and screws us up even before we've woken up. Decide not to have those thoughts contaminate you. You breathe. So you can sit, and when you breathe, your mind is going to run off a million times. And if it does, that's beautiful. Don't get angry with yourself. Don't get frustrated with yourself. Just keep bringing your breath back to your body and focus. And what really works is to count your breaths. So deep, slow, rhythmical breathing and count. You might count to 3 and boom, there goes your mind. Hey, you brought it back and you counted to 6 and it went again. Hey, that's progress. So just start counting. Breathe into your beautiful body. Focus on your body. Breathe into it. Okay? And in that way, you'll start calming your body down. Then you get up, and no matter what the day, what the weather, go outside and honor this beautiful planet. Thank God for the sun that shines. Thank God for the waters in the oceans. Thank God for the earth you're standing on. For the,
someone's not getting the message.
Yes, for the breath you're breathing in, So all of that, just be grateful. Spend 2 minutes just being grateful. There's always something to be grateful for, okay? After that, get a journal and write for 20 minutes. Just write, 20 minutes to half an hour. And what I want to suggest you do is take 3 topics in your life and ones that are easy to be positive about right now. And write down only the positive aspects of your life. Mm-hmm. So it might be your flower that's growing outside that is so pretty. Wow, I loved seeing my flower yesterday. It's so pretty. Wow, I love to see my granddaughter in 6 months' time, she really fills my heart with joy. She really gives me that great feeling. Instead of focusing on that which is dragging you down, there will be moments where you want to reflect on that for sure. And you want to sit and reflect and write down the things that are bugging you about yourself, write down the limitations, write all that down, and just to make yourself aware. And not typing, guys, scribing. Because when you write, the energy is channeled through your body and shaped through the letters and the words that you write. So you want to do that. And then before you get in, or when you get in the shower, every part of your body, thank you, my arms for hugging and holding, my hands that touch and feel, my face, my eyes that see, my ears that hear, my nose that smells, my legs that carry me, my feet that move me forward. Acknowledge and be grateful for every part of your body. I don't care how much cellulite you think you have, how many scars you have, how big or droopy your boobs are. And I'm saying this because this is the stuff I hear all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that is not what we're looking at. We are looking at the function of this beautiful body. Because without your body, you cannot fulfill your purpose on this planet. You cannot be a little ghost or a soul flouncing around. No one would see you. You'd get very frustrated. So on third dimension, you create a body. This body, that is you. And as long as you think you can abuse your body and get away with it, think again. Because your body is designed to work with you. It's the manifestation of your spirit. And the more you take care of it, the more it takes care of you, even if it is a temporary vehicle.
Sorry, the delays. I so agree with all of those. I do exactly that. The moment I'm aware that I'm awake, the first thing I do when I'm lying on my pillow is gratitude, all the things I'm grateful for, and then the breathing, and then getting out outside in nature thing. And it's these simple things that transform your lives. But habit and consistency. Now, I am going to make a blatant plug because I think anyone who's enjoyed this is going to really enjoy the series I've done with Dr. Timo and Lance Shetler on optimizing health and happiness, because we talk about these stuff so much and in so much more detail, because being consistent, and you've hit on such an important thing about the functionality of our bodies. And someone made a comment above, thank you, about how lucky we are to be here in this 3D time at the moment. Let's not wish it away. We don't want to be wishing our lives away, waiting for something to happen. And every day we can improve that functionality. It doesn't matter what your starting point is. Absolutely. And as you improve that functionality, I had to improve mine last week, which is one of the reasons I got sick, because one of my cats, some people will know this, got stuck up the most ridiculously high tree, was obviously chased up there by something in the most inaccessible area. I mean, if anyone had had a video getting me and my neighbours and my daughter trying to get these huge, great ladders to this tree and then going up. So I had to practice different functionality last week. But when you start every day, just a little improvement, a few more steps, a few more squats, a few more stretches, of some deeper breathing, whatever it is, it doesn't matter how small, but an extra step each day to achieving it. Because when you're physically vital, you know, what nutrients are you putting in, what thoughts are you putting in? So it's a huge subject, but it's one that all of us can do, make little changes every day. And I'm a big believer in having an accountability partner as well.
Yeah.
For me, that works really, really well. And so have you got a friend, a family member? If not, perhaps some of you can pair up on here to sort of commit to saying, you know, for the next month, I am going to do whatever, because that's what it takes is, as I said, none of these things are something that we achieve one day and we carry with us for the rest of their lives. Those decisions we make today are affecting our tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Oh, we've had such a lovely chat. I could go on forever, but I'm conscious that we're coming up to the hour. Thank you so much for your interaction, everyone. Is there anything else that you want to leave people with, Chanti, before we finish?
All I want to say to everyone is we are living the most exciting times on this planet ever. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So I want to say to everyone watching, rather than see this as such a terrible time and the end times a year and blah, 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 just get up and go, wow, I've chosen to be a warrior at this time, as a whatever it is, a truth bearer, a witness to truth, whatever it might be. It is the most exciting time we're living. If we wake up with that understanding in the morning, and I always say to God, okay, God, what do you have in store for me today? And I wake up with that consciousness, and I'm very grateful for whoever crossed my path that day, because I'm conscious that my divine creator has, and I have conspired for this person to be there, to have an interaction, whatever that might be. So I try to be positive in the way I do things. I try to be conscious in the way because I tend to look quite serious sometimes and people think I'm mad. And I'm like, no, I was just like really thinking. But, so I try to be conscious about that as well. Just be happy you're here. You're not here by accident. We're all in this together. Meditate, take your quiet time. As Catherine, what you said, so good, is to get an accountability partner. Have fun, start growing food, swap with each other. It's just, I've got all sorts of things growing in my garden. It's just amazing, picking everything and making my food. It's just, it's a time for change. It's a time for us to go back to nature, to connecting. So that for me is just whatever we need to do to connect. May that be what you do. Yeah.
Such good advice. And my little thing that I'll finish with again is that, being aware that we carry our energy with us everywhere. Our animals will pick it up, the plants will pick it up, the divine matrix picks it up. So, being conscious of what energy you are carrying everywhere, because we live so much of our lives from being driven from our subconscious programs. When you have that conscious awareness of what energy am I carrying in with me into this situation, then you are going to make much better choices for you and everyone around it. So thank you so much for everyone joining us today. Thank you so much, Chanti. Thank you so much to Chanti's internet and power supply for staying out there.
Hallelujah.
We weren't sure we were going to make it, were we? And thank you so much for all your lovely interaction, and for Andrew in the chat as well. And I'm sure we'll be back. So anyone watching this on replay, please do let us know what else you would find it useful for us to talk about.
Exactly. Thank
See
you,
soon.
everybody.
I'm sure I'll be back on your channel next time. So everyone, if you're not already signed up to Chanti's 2 channels, all the links will be below. Please do go there and subscribe so you don't miss any of her great content. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye.